Hello everyone, my name is Anna Irwin. Today I'm going to be conducting a series of presentations on the case study research approach. Again, my name is Anna Irwin. I have a PhD in Planning, Governance, and Globalization from the School of Public and International Affairs at Virginia Tech. I also currently work with Dr. Zhao Ma in the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources and the Arequipa Nexus Institute on a large research social science mixed methods research project where we are conducting research on adaptation to social ecological change, risk and resilience, and mining. In each of these experiences, both my PhD as well as in my current postdoc, I've conducted multiple uh, case studies. My dissertation, I conducted a case study of a program that a nonprofit was conducting, a participatory program. The organization was a farm worker ministry that worked with migrant farm workers in North Carolina, and they were conducting a participatory program with the workers they served, and I studied that through a single case approach. In the current research we're conducting, we are both doing a single holistic case in a place called Majes, and we're also doing a multi-embedded case looking at how intersectionality shapes adaptation across 4 districts within the same province. And I'll explain more what this means later as we work through the research. I've also contributed to other multi-case studies where my work, both with the Arequipa Nexus Institute as well as my dissertation, contributes to other multi-case analysis papers and projects. So today's presentation, these 4 presentations together, I'm going to talk first about what a case study is. I'm going to use my dissertation project as an example throughout. I'm going to talk about case studies tests, how you test for rigor to know that if you're conducting rigorous case study research. Talk about multi and single case studies, and then go into some examples of case studies that are both multi as well as single. So today, this presentation, I'm going to talk about what is a case study. Components of a case study as defined by me, Anna Irwin. I'm going to talk about how and why research questions, the importance of the unit of analysis, triangulation, theory development, some limitations to case study research, and then also some really good resources you could use if you're a master's or PhD student who would like to conduct this sort of research for your projects or be part of this research or just to understand it better. So what is a case study? There are many definitions out there. One that I found is the intensive qualitative or quantitative, and I will add also, and that can also be qualitative and quantitative in the same study or analysis of a single unit or a small number of units, the cases, where the researcher's goal is to understand a larger class of similar units, a population of cases. It's very important for policy so that research aligns with context. You can also identify new variables, especially in descriptive work. It's a great approach to understand complex phenomena. Most times, a context is quite unique. Sometimes you find a context that's so unique that it's worth just a single case. And this is a great approach for understanding that phenomena. There's high internal validity. It's an approach that's flexible yet very rigorous. It can often identify a sequence of events through process tracing. We're not going to get too much to that today, but it is a great way to both identify a sequence of events that are causal, creating a causal line of events, but it also can identify a process through microtheory. It can solve a puzzle, or it can refine, confirm, or reject a theory as well. So I also want to say before we get started, there are many different perspectives on case studies. So the epistemological philosophies, including realist, positivist, interpretivist, constructivist, pragmatism, and others, there's so many different ways of people. You don't have to have a certain epistemological or ontological orientation to conduct case study research. I think what's more important is to understand your own philosophies, like check your philosophy and your reflexivity at the door, because many of us assume that one way is the best way, but there are many different ways of conducting this type of research. Okay, and it really takes us being reflexive researchers to know which one is the best for us, and how to work with people who have different approaches to case studies than you. So, for example, George and Bennett, they're often used in political science, as well as Yin, who I leaned on a lot for this presentation. They're more positivist in their orientation. Stake, on the other hand, who does a lot more qualitative work with case studies, is more constructivist. No matter what approach you use, though, a couple things run through all of them, and that is to have rigor, transparency, and credibility. It's so important no matter how you approach the case study process, whether it's a single, holistic, embedded, or multi-case study. Or if you do descriptive or causal. So there's also descriptive and there's causal cases. I personally am more familiar with descriptive cases, and that's what I conduct as a researcher. In descriptive cases, the case itself is center stage. It's a holistic description of the context plus the case details, and it's a descriptive reference. You make descriptive references to theory. In a causal case, there's a strong focus on independent variables. There's also theory testing as part of the research design and methods. Both are very important ways to test theory and generate theory, and to speak to theory and improve theory. However, their design and focus are quite different. There's also a very loose case study process, which I adapted from Yin. Again, I think I talked a lot about Yin. I'll talk about him again in the end. This is the very important book if you're conducting case study research. It's called Case Study Research Design and Methods by Robert K. Yin. He worked for the government. I think he worked for the Government Accountability Office for many years. So he has a lot of work, a lot of experience and knowledge about how to adequately conduct case studies and methods more broadly speaking. He actually calls case studies a methodology, where I call it an approach. That's a difference in opinion and a different in perspective on that. So he calls it a linear yet iterative process. So that means that you go in a straight line, but you often go back a step. Go in a straight line, often go back a step. So in his book, he lays it out as follows, and this can be applied with a single or a multi-case study design. So you develop or you choose a theory first, and then you select cases and design data collection. Again, these two can maybe be switched, especially the select cases and develop and choose theory. But the idea is these two happen at the beginning. Then you conduct the case studies and collect the actual data. After that, you write individual case reports, and then you draw conclusion across cases or within a single case. In particular, you compare your case results to other cases. You modify your theory next, and you develop policy recommendations. And finally, you synthesize and write up a cross-case analysis. So, for example, in my dissertation work, like I said, I was conducting a case study on a participatory program that a nonprofit in North Carolina was conducting. It was a faith-based organization or farm worker ministry that was conducting a participatory project with the workers that it served. I wanted to understand that project through the lens of a theory, of a participatory justice theory. I chose the theory by Nancy Fraser called participatory parity as justice. And participation or participatory parity means that all actors are on par through the lens of redistribution, recognition, and representation. So I chose that theory. I found the case, which was the program. Then I designed the data collection. Within that data collection, I collected a 5-month ethnographic case study with that farm worker ministry that was conducting the program. I wrote individual case reports. I wrote, one case report, writing up the details of this, and I drew conclusions from that one case study, and I compared those to other cases of participatory development as well as cases about food systems research. I also spoke to the theory, back to the theory, and I critiqued the theory in light of its capacity to be operationalized in a faith-based organization. Then I also made recommendations for other organizations that would like to create participatory space for migrant farm workers and or do a participatory program for migrant farm workers. How could they do this in light of the findings that I had?